Good afternoon, everyone. It's Friday, the 19th of March at about 10 to 3 from a wonderfully sunny spring day here in London. The American market not quite so sunny, as you can see. The market sold off quite aggressively yesterday in the second half of the session. Short term on VectorVest trend is down. Medium term trend is also down. Underlying trend is up. So a mixed situation. I think I've already loaded the S&P 500, and as you can see, we're approaching this huge level of 4,000 in the S&P 500, and certainly it's not going to get through that without building up some energy. As you can see, the market's still trading north of that 21 day moving average and off the lows of the day so far. The low was at about 3,886 from memory, and it's now trading at 3,912. I've been active in the market this week. Maybe I was a little impulsive, I don't know, but nevertheless I have to follow my rules, and had one really good trade, and the rest are still a bit flat. This Williams Sonoma, I had to phone some of my colleagues in VectorVest to tell me exactly what they did, but it's up significantly. I'll show you the chart now, but it has impeccable VectorVest credentials. Undervalued significantly. The relative value, which is a measure of the earnings upside potential, huge number. Earning safety, a huge number. Long-term trend, a huge number. The growth rate, so impeccable fundamentals and a really good trend, and I'll show you exactly what's happened to that on that particular chart. If we can pull it up, yeah, that's what's happened, and I've already banked that. If we blow it up to a shorter term chart over 3 months, we can see the spring pattern, and there's been 2 springs in a row here on this, but that was a very good level. I didn't get in there. I only got in last Thursday, I think it was, or Friday, after the medium term trend on VectorVest turned up. That was at about 135, something like that, and then of course it shot up yesterday on earnings. I had my target at the 1.618 extension of the last pullback, and that was at 170. So that has been banked. I was going to bank it last night, but it came off while I was doing a webcast. So 170, and I'm very pleased with that one indeed. The rest of them are not going that well. Apps was looking quite sick, looking a little bit better today, and I'm sitting in apps. Volatility incredible and anything tech related, but the setup to me still looks quite good. Again, it's one of my famous spring setups, or should I say Richard Wyckoff's spring setups. Certainly, folks, if you're not in the trade, just leave it, because the primary wave on VectorVest is turned down. Wait for that to turn up, but it looks good to me. And as you can see, it's winding up the spring here. We've got an outside, wasn't quite an outside day. That's what they used to call on the floor a gap and snap. It gaps down and reverses. I think it's called a piercing line these days in candle terminology. And so far it's trading a double inside. If it breaks that inside, that high of yesterday, that should move. But if you're not in, I think leave it. But to me it looks very good indeed, with a target that would be right up around that 80 level. So I'm quite happy with that. Microsoft is doing nothing. It's about at the money and no more. And Palantir is just about in the money for me and no more. Futu. This is an incredible chart. If you have a look at this chart, that was just a textbook spring formation, and my word, it sprung. Did I get it all? Of course I didn't. I chickened out at these red bars, but it's now pulled back a little bit, and it's come back to that trend line, stroke the 78% retracement of that wave up, and I'm hanging in that, although I'm underwater. Okay, I'm underwater in that one, but I'm hanging in there. So one exceptionally good trade. There is one that I got stopped out at entry. on the second half of the position. Yeah, it's this one, MKSI. Again, a spring formation, and if I can get the chart to blow up, I got in somewhere about here, and got my stop to entry, and I got stopped out on that little tail earlier on as the thing went down in the trade. Probably it looks quite good to me. It's pulled back to this trend line, and if the general market turns up and she goes again, then I shall in fact think about re-entering that. And look at this, starting to look quite good now. The proper entry was down here, but that's when the general market was falling, so I didn't take that. Remember, what I'm looking for are shares with good growth fundamentals. The general market must be pointing upwards, and thirdly, then I want to finesse an elegant entry, and that was the elegant entry down there as it came, ran that stops and reversed. That would have been a textbook entry, and you would have certainly got your stop to entry, and now you could have sweated this out. My entry was late, and I paid the price for that. It's so when you get in at the right place, right at support with the professionals, then you can get your stop to entry, and that stop is still well out of the traffic. If you get in late and you bring your stop up to entry, well, your stop then is sitting right in the middle of the road and it gets wiped out, and that's what happened to this one today. Anyway, wouldn't be the first time, won't be the last. So one exceptionally good trade, one stopped out, a little bit of profit, and 2 or 3 still underwater waiting for this market to move. The S&P just down now 2.7 ticks. So have we got a big reversal on our hands today, same as we got 2 weeks ago? Do you remember that reversal we got Friday 2 weeks ago? If we have a look at the S&P, that's the overnight market on a 4-hour chart. I think that Elliott wave people will probably have counted 5 waves here. I think they'd be saying that this was a 5 of 5, although very difficult, if not impossible, to pick out a wave structure in this. I think with 3 or 4 whiskies you could find one, but without a half a bottle of Jameson's, I doubt if you could actually see much of a wave pattern in there. But that 5 waves up there, the Elliott wave people will be saying it was obvious to sell it there, and maybe it was. So I think that clearly this 3900 levels are a really important level. Nevertheless, the S&P still well above that 21-day moving average, and it would be naive to think that it was going to get through 4,000 without taking 3 or 4 attempts at it. So let's just take a deep breath and not panic. The gold market, I've got the chart of bullion here, and the gold market sitting, here we are, that's the gold market. It's come off that 62% retracement, folks, and it's doing its best to get up. 1736. I'd be happier to see it close above 1740. I'd got up above 1740. I got to 1755 the other day, but certainly looking quite good that this is going to hold. And as you can see, this magnificent flag type pattern that we've got. What we're doing here on gold is we're working a cup and handle on a monthly chart, and that sideways pattern that you see is still on the short side for that handle on that huge gold cup and handle technical pattern. So I'm holding Polymetal in the UK. And if I see it closing a weekly close above 1740, and I think I'll become more aggressive in the gold market next week. The UK market, well, this is the end of day on Thursday. Everything's still looking good, everything looking positive. If we pull up the VectorVest composite of the UK market, and we put on our longest term measure of the trend, and just remember, my own philosophy at the moment is that I'm swing trading in the American market. I'm trying to position trade, although it's not my natural style, in the UK market, we had, this is the confirmed up signal on the 24th of April last year. When it's time to buy, you won't want to. Just remember that. And that was a scary time. And now this is moving up quite strongly here. And are we going to push new highs? Let's have a look at there's the February high, and as you can see, these two lows, this double bottom, came back and kissed that February high, and that's quite a good sign. So it needs to get through these levels. I'm holding a portfolio of shares, and I haven't done a great deal. Sylvania, well, I think anybody that's listened to the VectorVest stuff on Monday afternoons, we're up about 3x in Sylvania, and GYS.L going very strongly indeed. Not quite up 3x, but we're up 30-40% in it. That's going nicely. Italia Mining, we're well up. Bellway going the right way. Very pleased with Bellway, and I think all the building stocks should do well. But Bellway is the one that I've got in the portfolio. As you can see, it's got a relative safety of 1.46. That's an exceptionally good number. A recovery stock. JD Sports a little bit higher, and it can break out. Similarly, a little bit higher on Lion Trust, it can break out, but we're well up in those since last April. I've held those since last April, and those are up 30 or 40% since last April, and I'll give you the figure exactly when I bank them. And as Johnny Cash sang so many years ago, never count your money when you're sitting at the table. There'll be time enough for counting when the dealing is done. Kenny Rogers made the song famous, but it was a Johnny Cash composition. Tristel, well up. Now this is 4D Pharma, and there are many people who like this stock fundamentally, but I bought into it purely on a technical basis. As you can see, it's losing money. It's not losing as much money. If we take the valuation off, because the valuation saying that it's trading above there, I like the spring. I came back and kissed here, moved up into this flag. I thought maybe we were away here. That was probably naive, but I like the look of it technically, and it's being accumulated aggressively. If you look at a 5-year chart of this, and I do my best to try and add volume. Where is volume? Volume, there we go. A huge accumulation right at the bottom here. Neil Woodford was a shareholder at £10, and it fell to a few pence. But very strong accumulation down here, and if we look at a 3-month chart of the volume, you can see these up days on big volume, up days on big volume, up days on big volume, and also here up days on reasonable good strong volume. There was 5 million shares traded yesterday, so I believe that this share is being professionally accumulated, folks, and that's why I bought into it. It hasn't done much yet. We had a trade in it last year which did quite well. Yeah, this in this period here, and then got stopped out of it here on that pullback, and I like it now. Can it break out of this? Is this a big cup and handle? Okay, maybe, but looks good to me. Pershing Square looks good. Cranswick's done absolutely nothing, but Cranswick doesn't do anything until a few weeks before the news. And that's Polymetal pulling up the table. Games Workshop yesterday reduced their dividend from what the market was expecting, and I think a few days ago it slumped to about 92. It's now pushing back up towards £100 again. The numbers on VectorVest are impeccable. Relative value of 1.41. That measures the price appreciation potential in relation to a AAA rated corporate bond, an outstanding number. RS at 1.48 on a scale between 0 and 2 is an outstanding number, and the growth rate next year of 21% is also good. So I'm happy with that fundamentally. It needs to break out, and that's the line in the sand. Let's make this a bit bigger. Earnings per share growing, and as you can see, it came right down there, and if we look at 3 months, see how that went down. gap down and then reversed. Very strong candle pattern. That was that sell-off based on the reduced dividend, and this level holding quite strongly. So I'm thinking of adding. I've added to this share once before. I'm thinking of adding to it again. Haven't done anything as yet. So steady as she goes, watching gold very carefully. If I see gold closing, a weekly close above 1740 would be very positive for me, and then I want to try and add into another gold counter and maybe a silver counter as well, HOC being something that I'm looking at. Okay, so go back to the US market and real time, and we still got the S&P off 3 ticks, 4 ticks from yesterday, but well off its daily lows. Its daily lows 3886, and it's now 10 past 11 in the US. So we've got another week, I think, of this 4 hours difference between here and the US, which I quite like, because it means that the floor across there closes at 8 o'clock in the evening as opposed to 9 o'clock in the evening, which helps me personally. I can't imagine they're worried about that too much. So some good trades, some bad trades, maybe some impetuous entries that I missed the very best entry and maybe should have done nothing. But we live and learn. Maybe in another 40 years I'll get this right. Thanks very much, everyone. Take care of yourselves. Bye bye.